Good morning, everyone. I want you to think back to the last time you crammed for a big exam. Maybe it was calculus, microeconomics, or a class where every problem felt like an unsolvable riddle. Remember the late night coffee, the scribbled notes, and the endless tabs open on your laptop? If you're like me, you've probably experienced that unique mix of panic and determination that comes from realizing the exam is tomorrow and you still don't quite know half the material. I've been there many, many times. But over the past year, something changed about the way that I study. I discovered that I could use artificial intelligence not as a shortcut, not as a way to bypass the hard work, but as a partner in the learning process. And that discovery completely reshaped how I approach difficult subjects like math and economics, and honestly, how I think about education as a whole. Let's talk about the problem first. Traditionally, studying is a chaotic process, and you've got a textbook that is 600 pages long, lecture notes that might or may not make a whole lot of sense in or out of context, practicing problems that you have to hunt down to solve one by one, and if you're lucky, a friend you can call at 11 p.m. to explain that one problem you can't figure out. For me, this meant I was spending more time organizing what I needed to study than actually studying it. I would flip back and forth between chapters, scrolling through dozens of class slides, looking up concepts online, and still not have one clean, coherent reference to turn to. And that's where AI came in. Here's what I started doing. The breakthrough consisted of a few steps. So, whenever I had a big test coming up, I would sit down and gather everything, my textbook, the name of the textbook, the chapters that we were covering, and even 30 or so practice problems that I knew would be representative of the test. Usually you have a study guide that isn't up for a grade or something. It's just these are how the words are going to be worded in the problems, and I would feed all of that into the AI model like ChatGPT and give a very specific directions on what I wanted. So, it has the book to reference, and it has the chapters of the book to know, the content that I'm looking at, and then it knows the problems to apply those chapters to. So, the answers to those problems that I get for, my little reference sheet will sound just like what we've talked about in class or read in the book. So, the steps are as follows. I can prompt it and tell it, solve these problem step by step, just like my professor would expect based on the book, or explain the reasoning behind each step in plain language, include relevant graphs and label them properly, or format everything into a clean professional PDF style study guide that I can print and keep on my laptop. So, really, one of the untapped things with ChatGPT in particular is that it can make you PDF study guides, and I mean, you might have to play with it a little bit, but it is possible. So that way, you don't have to do any extra steps to print out, that little cheat sheet, so to speak. But, the result of all these processes are I have a single well-organized document that contains exactly what I need to study. Not too much, not too little. I could reference it when I was stuck in a problem and then check my answers when I practiced and see worked out solutions in order that mirror the logic that we used in class or we're going to be using on the test or quizzes. And this wasn't just convenient; it was really transformative to my process and how I studied. Prompt engineering comes in the equation with this, of course, a good bit. I should point out, getting this to work wasn't as simple as just typing "make me a study guide." Prompt engineering comes in, when the AI only gives as good as the instructions that we give it. If I was vague, I would get vague results, and if I didn't specify that I wanted graphs, they wouldn't appear. If I didn't clarify that I needed calculus-based explanations, AI might give me a simple answer that wouldn't, help me solve more complex problems. In a way, prompt engineering became its own skill that I had to practice, and I learned to think like my professor when writing instructions. I learned to anticipate what type of explanations I would need and what mistakes to avoid. And so with that process, I was able to cater to each class and get all of my material in one spot, so I'm ready to simply learn and do the higher order thinking. Um, and there are some bad perceptions of AI, and I realize that fully. AI, in my opinion, is not cheating utilized in this way. Uh, when I use AI to create a study guide, let's say, I'm not asking it to take the test for me. I mean, I don't have access to the test. I'm not asking it to do my homework. I'm not just, throwing a bunch of equations on it and just letting it, work through everything, just sitting and waiting. Um, I'm using it as a tool to create, custom material for myself so that when I go and do problems I haven't seen before, I can work out the order of operations. Um, I think of it like a calculator. When calculators were first introduced, people said they would ruin math and education, but we still teach arithmetic. We still teach problem solving. We just let students use calculators to focus on higher order thinking. That's really all it is. To have all these formulas in one place, to have what the graph's supposed to look like, to have the order of operations of this problem off to the side, it hardly took me any time to get, that little reference sheet. That just opens up all my time for higher order thinking. I'm not having to flip through textbooks. I'm not having to, Google things and make sure my graph looks right. It puts all of the busy work aside and just allows me to commit the stuff to memory. And it has the potential to do the same thing, for many students. It takes the chaos of information, organizes it, and lets us focus on the understanding, not just the busy work. As big pictures, students who struggle with math could get step-by-step explanations on exactly the level they need. Students who are ahead of the class could challenge themselves with harder problems, and teachers could spend less time re-explaining the same concepts and more time helping students apply what they've learned. Just by utilizing AI a little bit more. And I think that it's not unreasonable to say that all of those are very, very feasible, the way things are trending with AI. And in closing, as a call to you students, I'm in college. I'm at Campbell University as an economics pre-law major. But as a call to other fellow students, this is my challenge to you. Don't just use AI to ask for quick answers. Don't just let it spit out solution after solution and then you copy it and move on. Use it to learn and use it to explore. Use it to create your own tools, your own guides that help you understand your subject deeply. When you do that, you'll find AI isn't replacing your efforts, amplifying it, and turning that 11 p.m. cram session into a confident, focused, and maybe even enjoyable learning experience. Looking at it as a whole, it is what you put into it, and our generation no longer has to sit in the library with 4 textbooks open and trying to cross-reference different information and see who's right. And, depending on the subject, especially with things that are very quantifiable, we are now, with the technology provided to us, able to truly just spend almost all of our time focused on learning. And I don't think that has been the case before. And we shouldn't take it for granted. We should utilize these new technologies as well as we can and take advantage of all the tools that we have today. So thank you for listening. And this has been my AI TED Talk on using AI as a tutor and changing the way that we study. So thank you.